Welcome, everyone, to the Chuck Graham Show. If you haven't been on Twitter lately, then you realize that Elon Musk has backed out of its deal to purchase Twitter. Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't still own a significant chunk of Twitter stock. And he probably had to pay the penalty for breaking the deal. But knowing Elon Musk, he probably got out of it. But there's a couple of things I want to get into this morning, and it's 3 a.m. here in Mississippi. One of those things is I put out a lot of things on Twitter that are just hyperbolic. Just shock and all knee-jerk reaction just to see how the hell the left will lose their damn mind. I've been called everything under the sun, but let me just explain to you folks something. I don't give two shits what you have to say or what you think about me. I don't. Not two shits. There's one thing I want to address is Emmett Till and those folks that are trying to go after this 90-year-old woman and trying to find her in a nursing home. I hope and I pray. Now, what happened to him was tragic. I don't know the circumstances. It's been a long time ago. I haven't read up on it, so I'm not going to claim to be an expert in it. But I will tell you this. The woman's 90 years old. Leave her the fuck alone. And I hope the sheriffs of those counties arrest every single one of you tyrants. Because the woman she was then is not the woman she is today. The man you were at 20 is not the one you are at 50. You dumb shits. So there's that. Leave her the hell alone. If she's even still alive. You're trying to serve a 50-year-old warrant that's invalid, that you can't serve. The bottom line is, and plus you're not a law enforcement agency or agent, you can't serve it anyway, you dipshits. And if I was sheriff, I would arrest every single one of you for trespassing, harassment, malicious mischief. I could come up with a ton of it. Get a school bus out there and put all of you on it. Have you all handcuffed together. You think I'm kidding? The bottom line is, leave the woman alone. It's just ridiculous. Pick something else. And if you want reparations, from who? Maura. Can't pronounce her first name. Black woman, Louisiana, 1850s, one of the richest women in the country. Yeah, she was black. Owned 14 black slaves. You want it from her family? Or what about William Ellis? You want it from his? He was a black man that owned hundreds of slaves. So did his son. You think that racism started what? The true racism, folks. The true racism started under the Democratic Party under Jim Crow. Bass Reeves was a U.S. Marshal. He was black. He was one of the best U.S. Marshals out there. But after the Civil War and the Jim Crow era, that's when true racism hit. So don't give me this mess and do your own research. There's things that they don't teach you that you should go and you should look and critically think on. Why? Because it's important to know the truth. The truth is important. The bottom line is you have every opportunity. I'm not a racist person. I don't care if you're black. Hell, Moses married a Shiite, which was a black woman in the 12 chapters of Numbers. So you know what? Whatever. I got it. I don't have a problem with race. I have a problem with idiots. Uneducated idiots that manipulate the truth with critical race theory and all that. Leave the woman alone. So the point being is this. You know why we'll never get past all this? Because everything's racism. Everything's racist. And if everything's racist, nothing's racist. Ponder that for a moment. So when it comes to Emmett Till, then, his dad was hung for raping an Italian woman. Not that has any bearing on him, but I'm just saying there's more to it than we know. More to it than I know. I mean, that was 50, 60 years ago. So the bottom line is, folks, is very simple. You need to take into account, I've often said this, if God judged us like we judge each other, we would all go to hell. The point being is this: there is racism in this in the world. But you think that we cornered it? No. Egyptians had slaves, Indians had slaves, blacks had slaves, they had black slaves. They were slaves, then become slave owners. William Ellis was notorious for treating his slaves like, woo. Now, the bottom line is slavery is not a good thing. And no, the Europeans didn't go over there and take them. They were sold because the tribal leaders were at war with each other, and they sold the basically prisoners of war. But the point being is at least be a little educated before you start this mess. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Also, I want to get into the fact that I was watching on Twitter today, and the Supreme Court issue with Roe v. Wade, right? Supreme Court issue with Roe v. Wade is an absolutely wonderful ruling from the Supreme Court. They finally, people say, well, they're taking away the right. They're not taking away anyone's rights. They're giving the rights back to the states. And you pro-abortion murderers, what you're trying to say is that you want everybody to have one say. What you're trying to do is you're trying to get the Supreme Court to legislate from the bench. It's possible that you don't know damn shit about our Constitution or how it works. And we're not a democracy, by the way. We're a constitutional republic. And I'm sick of people saying, well, we're a democracy. We're not a democracy. The masses rule in a democracy. We are not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic, which is what we came up with. And we're a baby country in terms of age. And so, yes, the Constitution evolved over time. But one thing I can say, there is no constitutional right to abortion, and that's all the Supreme Court said. You do not have, and I know they're trying to use substance rights that's basically implied in our Constitution, right to privacy. Well, that means you can kill your child. Are you kidding me? There's no right to gay marriage under our Constitution. That's evident. The fact is it all should be up to the states. Actually, I think that, to be honest, I think that the government should get out of the marriage business. You should be able to take from your rabbi or your priest and take your marriage certificate and file it with the circuit clerk or whatever clerk handles it in your state, and it be binding. But I don't think the state should be in the marriage business at all. If you want to take a notary republic and marry two people that obviously are not going to be married in the eyes of God, then by all means. And if you, as those people that are not going to be married in the eyes of God, want to give up half your shit in a divorce, then by all means, get married. The bottom line is nobody's stopping you. I can tell you this, if I wasn't married, I would never marry again, ever. Not that I'm unhappy at my marriage, because I'm not, but I'm just saying I wouldn't marry. Nope. And in today's society where you have a 60% chance of divorce, let me ask you this. If you better get a prenup. And it's not a mystical document that, oh God, you're dooming the marriage to fail. No, it's a parachute. Yeah. If I told you that we're going to go up in this plane and we're going to jump out and we're going to parachute to the ground, but oh, by the way, 60% of the time it don't open. Would you jump? Hope is a wonderful thing. And I hope everybody stays married. And I hope the ones that do marry are married in the eyes of God, because otherwise it won't work. But I digress. Roe v. Wade was a wonderful decision, as I said before. And it has nothing to do with banning your rights to an abortion. We have mass transit. It takes you 5 minutes to get on a plane and fly to California, in one of those shithole states that still allow you to murder your baby. That's it. You just can't do it in Mississippi. Thank you, Tate Reeves. Appreciate it, signing that. And we had a trigger law that came into effect. You just can't do it here. So take your ass somewhere else if you want to murder your kid. Because if you do it here, you're going to go to jail. And I think what's going to happen is these pills that they're trying to give out, these abortion pills, and these people that buy them and then take it, if you take it here in the state of Mississippi and you abort your child chemically, you're going to see some people get prosecuted. You better take your ass over to another state that allows it before you take that pill. Because I really see that being a very big issue. And that'll be taken up by our Attorney General or whatever DA in whatever county, depending on the DA. I'm just saying. Be very careful with that. I don't edit these videos, and there's a reason why. Because I like to hear myself talk, I guess. And like I said, it's 3 a.m. I don't want to edit them. I mean, you just get the full brunt of it. Excuse me. Kind of went down the wrong windpipe. Anyway, it's a good thing, people. Even if you're liberal, it's a good thing to put the power back into the state's hand, where your state legislature can rule on it. So it doesn't affect you folks in New York or California. And people think it does, and that's just crazy. It doesn't. So it would be the same thing as if they ruled that abortion was illegal across the board. That's not that's not something the Supreme Court should rule on. I don't agree with that either. I don't agree with blanketly banning it, because that takes the power away from the states. It's that simple. It's that simple, folks. So moving on to another topic that I wanted to talk about was guns and assault weapons. And there was this nun, I guess she's a nun, on Twitter. They were blasting me up. FYI, folks, on Twitter, I'm not going anywhere. But I do love the comments, because as I said at the beginning of this of the video, unless you're watching the shorts, the 6-minute segments, as I said before, I don't give a shit what you have to say. I mean, I want you to be able to say it. I mean, I'm sure that there's going to be some people that just absolutely just think I'm a tool, and that's okay. Because I don't care. Never have. Never in my life have I gave a shit one way or the other. So let's talk about the assault weapons and the banning of the assault weapon. I said it in another segment. The reason the kids died at the school in Uvalde, Texas, was the fact you had cowards out there that were wearing badges that should have taken their ass in there and engaged the shooter, and they didn't. It took a lone Border Patrol agent with a barred shotgun to go in and actually save the day. When them dipshits are standing outside, and I said it before and I'll say it again, every single fucking one of them should be fired. And the police chief that ordered it should be indicted. They knew. The grandmother, the real hero in this, was shot in the face, goes and calls 911, tells them they don't intercept him. They're a bunch of idiots that shouldn't be wearing badges, and I'll say it again. as a former law enforcement officer, you wouldn't have been able to keep me out of that. If my wife would have been there, you wouldn't have kept me out of that. I'd have run my damn car right through the front door. And then might have got my ass shot off, but you know what? Oh well. But they stood out there, didn't intercept them, and look at Florida, the last mass shooting there. The FBI was contacted over 20 times and did nothing. Almost every time in these mass shootings, folks, the FBI, the police, all these people were notified. They put their manifesto online. And what does the police do? Nothing. Not a fucking thing. Nothing. Are you kidding me? You're not going to investigate? What do you think red flag laws are going to do? You've already seen, look at the assassination in Japan. You can't have a gun at all, period. Made a gun, assassinated the prior prime minister. And so the bottom line is this. Gun control laws don't work. Educating your police, paying them more, and getting some folks in there that want to do that job and actually have the wherewithal to do that job. When policing actually fucking matters, they fail to police. When it fucking actually matters. No, I watched a video just the other day about a cop that was at a Perplex or something. Walks up to the woman, tells her, oh, well, they accused you of shoplifting. Do you have a receipt for what you purchased? Really? You Constitution inept individual? I would have never done that as a cop. You know what I'd done? I'd walked up to her and I'd said, can I see your identification, please? And they would have said, she would have probably said, why? And I'd told her, well, you got to produce it if I ask for it, so I need to see it. And to make a long story short, I got her information, gave it back to them, said, if you want to press charges, press charges. But he tased her, arrested her. Turns out she did pay for the stuff. Turns out she did have a receipt. She just wouldn't show it to him. And she has no right to show it to him. Ohio v. Rayner. The Fifth Amendment's basic function is so innocent persons don't get ensnared by ambiguous circumstances. In other words, the Fifth shutting up and being quiet to the police does not indicate guilt. The police have 1,000 ways to screw you over. You have one way to keep them from doing it, and that's to shut the hell up. Now, folks, I digress. My point being is this. The cops did nothing. When policing actually mattered, rather than it be trivial ass shit like I just described, when policing when it mattered, they dropped the ball. And none of them should be police officers. Red flag laws will not work. They'll be abused, and it'll be in the divorce courts when it's abused. Oh, my God. John told me he was going to shoot himself, and then here we go. No constitutional protections whatsoever. Red flag laws are unconstitutional, and rhinos like Lindsey Graham ought to be removed. Anyone that supported red flags ought to be voted out of office. You have no right to take someone's constitutional rights away from them just because you think they may do something. When almost every time that one of these mass shooters, they could have been arrested for threats and intimidation by letter of notice, by putting the shit online. There's a ton of different other laws, terroristic threats. There's a ton of different things they could have been arrested for that would have stopped it. Nobody hears about the woman. The woman had a concealed weapons permit. Mass shooter was fixing to shoot, and she took his ass down. And now I think that was in Virginia, if I'm not mistaken. So, folks, don't cry me a damn river with your gun control shit. It doesn't work. New York has one of the highest, one of the worst gun control laws. Nobody can get a gun except now with the Supreme Court ruling. Chicago, same way. You have more killings and guns and shootings over there than you ever do in, say, Mississippi. And they try to skew the numbers. The governor of New York was saying, no. Where you have more guns, you have more killings. That's a skew of the numbers. Go look it up from the FBI statistics. It's a skew of the numbers. You got half as many people get stabbed to death every year as you do get shot. What about those assault knives? Those assault kitchen knives? What about those? By God, we got to ban Emeril Gassi from making those assault knives. We got to hold him accountable when someone gets stabbed. What about the 49,000 people in 2019 that were killed in automobile accidents? What about those people? We got a ban Ford. We got to hold them accountable. That family wouldn't have died if Ford hadn't have made that car. You see how insanely stupid that is, right? And if you don't, then you're an idiot. That's all I can say. We can't, we can have a conversation about it, but the fact of the matter is, if you don't understand how much stupidity that is, more people get killed each year by automobile accidents. Way more people. There are a ton of different things that kill people every year other than firearms. And I said this to this woman. Ever heard of Timothy McVeigh? Killed roughly 3,000 people with a truckload of fertilizer made into a bomb. So would you have rather than blew up the damn school? Just as long as it wasn't a gun. Because them assault rifles, oh my God, them assault rifles. And I told her, I said, define it for me. Define assault rifle. You can't. It's an ambiguous term. Any weapon used to, let me be slow, assault you is an assault weapon. Let me say it again. Any weapon used to assault you is an assault weapon. So get over yourself. You lost. You had 50 years of liberal-ass judges that almost destroyed our Constitution, and you're pissing and moaning about the fact that you can't murder. I swear, I think if you went back 50 years and told people that people are pissed off because they cannot kill their kid, or they're trying to dismantle our rights to bear arms, I think you would be, they'd be shocked. In this country, you have a right to keep and bear arms. In this constitutional republic. And I was saying earlier, Congress cannot, well, they can, pass laws that contradict the Constitution. Otherwise, it's going to be struck down. I didn't write the Constitution, but I agree with it. And I agree with it as an originalist. I agree it should be amended. I agree sometimes it should be amended. Like, I'll tell you something that should be repealed, the 17th Amendment. And the reason I think that the 17th Amendment should be repealed is because we have two houses. The way the founding fathers set it up is you had the House of Representatives that represented the people, the majority of the people. Then you had the Senate that represented the states. And before the 17th Amendment, the senators were elected by the state legislatures, not the people. But the progressives pushed like hell to get that changed so that they would be elected by the people. So essentially, you have two houses. If you repeal that, you put the power back into the states to go, wait a minute. You're not doing what you said you were going to do. And then they recall their ass. It puts a lot of power back into the states if you was to repeal the 17th Amendment. I digress. I did a whole show on the 17th Amendment, not going to get into that. But you have the right to keep and bear arms. Never forget that. It has nothing to do with hunting and everything to do with tyranny. And with that, I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye-bye.